What happens when one of the most respected actresses in the world walks onto a morning talk show, only to be blindsided by a host who seems more interested in tearing her down than celebrating her? It only took 36 seconds for Helen Mirren to stand up, remove her microphone, and walk off set, leaving Lorraine Kelly speechless in front of millions of viewers. This is the story of how a breakfast television staple went from cheerful banter to career-defining disaster. Helen Mirren arrived at the studio that morning, expecting a typical promotional interview. She was there to discuss her latest film, a passion project about women in leadership. The atmosphere backstage was friendly enough. Hair and makeup chatted with her about the weather, the usual small talk that fills green rooms across the country. But the moment she stepped onto that brightly lit set, something felt different. Lorraine Kelly sat in her signature chair, that painted smile already in place. Next to her were two regular panelists, Marcus Webb, the entertainment correspondent known for his biting commentary, and Jennifer Chase, a lifestyle blogger who had made a career out of manufactured controversy. As Helen settled into her seat, adjusting the cushion beneath her, she noticed the way all three of them exchanged glances. It was subtle, but it was there. "Helen Mirren, welcome to the show," Lorraine began, her voice syrupy sweet in that way that immediately puts guests on edge. "We are so thrilled to have you here. Although I must say, I was surprised you agreed to come on. We do not usually get actresses of your, shall we say, vintage." The word hung in the air like smoke. Vintage. Helen's smile remained fixed, but her eyes sharpened. "Well, I am delighted to be here, Lorraine. It is always interesting to speak with different programs." "Oh, we are very different," Marcus chimed in, leaning forward with an eager grin. "We tell it like it is here. No softballs, no puff pieces. Just honest conversation." Jennifer nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. Our viewers appreciate authenticity. They are tired of the same rehearsed answers celebrities give everywhere else." "I appreciate honesty," Helen said carefully. "I have built my career on it." Lorraine's smile widened, but there was something predatory about it now. "Speaking of your career, let us talk about this new film of yours. Women in power, women in leadership. All very trendy right now, is it not? Everyone wants to make a film about empowered women these days." "I would not call it trendy," Helen replied, her voice calm but firm. "These are important stories that have needed telling for decades. We are simply finally getting the opportunity to tell them." "Right, right," Lorraine said, waving her hand dismissively. "But do you not think it is a bit, I do not know, calculated? Like everyone in Hollywood suddenly discovered feminism last year, and now they are all scrambling to cash in on it?" The audience stirred uncomfortably. This was not the light morning entertainment they had expected. Helen straightened in her chair. "I think you are confusing opportunism with progress. These stories matter. They have always mattered." "Of course they matter," Jennifer jumped in, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "But Helen, and I mean this with all respect, do you not think that perhaps younger actresses should be the ones telling these stories now? Fresh faces? New perspectives? I mean, you have had your time in the spotlight." The words landed like a slap. Helen blinked once, twice, processing what had just been said on live television. "I am sorry, did you just suggest that I should step aside because of my age?" "No, no," Lorraine interjected, though her tone suggested she was enjoying this. "Jennifer is simply saying that the industry is changing, and change often means making room for new talent. You understand that, surely." "What I understand," Helen said slowly, her accent becoming more pronounced as her patience wore thin, "is that you invited me here under the pretense of discussing my work, and instead, you are questioning whether I have the right to continue working at all." Marcus laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, come on now. Do not be so sensitive. We are just having a conversation. This is what we do here. We ask the tough questions that other shows are too scared to ask." "Tough questions," Helen repeated, her voice ice cold. "Is that what you call this?" "Let us move on," Lorraine said, flipping through her notes with exaggerated casualness. I want to talk about your personal life. You have been married for quite some time now. How do you keep things exciting at your age? I imagine intimacy must become rather, well, challenging. The studio went silent. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze. Helen stared at Lorraine with an expression that could have melted steel. Excuse me? Oh, do not clutch your pearls, Lorraine said with a laugh. We are all adults here. I am just curious. So many older couples struggle with maintaining that spark. Surely you can relate. I cannot believe what I am hearing, Helen said quietly. Jennifer leaned in, sensing blood in the water. Helen, I think what Lorraine is trying to say is that our audience wants to know the real you, not the polished movie star version. The real person who deals with real issues. Aging, relationships, staying relevant. These are things everyone faces. Staying relevant, Helen repeated, her jaw tight. That's the second time you have questioned my relevance today. Well, can you blame us? Marcus said, shrugging. The industry is youth-obsessed. That is just a fact. And at a certain point, roles dry up. Everyone knows that. We have all seen actresses disappear once they hit a certain age. You have been fortunate to keep working, but surely you must feel that pressure. Helen's hands gripped the arms of her chair. The only pressure I feel right now is the pressure to remain civil in the face of extraordinary rudeness. Lorraine laughed, a sharp bark of sound. Oh, here we go. The prima donna routine. We ask a few honest questions, and suddenly we are being rude. You have not asked me a single question about my film, Helen pointed out. Not one. You have spent this entire interview making snide remarks about my age, my relevance, and my personal life. What exactly did you expect me to do? Smile and thank you for it? We expected you to have a sense of humor, Jennifer said coolly. Most of our guests can take a joke. A joke, Helen said, her voice rising slightly. You think this is a joke? Honestly, Helen, Lorraine said, leaning back in her chair with infuriating smugness. I think you are being overly sensitive. This is morning television. It is supposed to be fun. Light. But you are sitting there acting like we have committed some terrible offense. You have been condescending and disrespectful from the moment I sat down, Helen said firmly, and I will not sit here and pretend otherwise. Marcus rolled his eyes dramatically. Oh, please. You celebrities are all the same. You want everyone to worship you, to treat you like royalty. But the second someone treats you like a normal person, you cannot handle it. Treating someone like a normal person, Helen said sharply, does not mean insulting them repeatedly on national television. We have not insulted you, Lorraine protested, though her smirk suggested otherwise. We have simply engaged in honest dialogue. If you cannot handle honest dialogue, perhaps you should stick to programs that will kiss your feet and tell you how wonderful you are. Helen took a deep breath, visibly trying to maintain her composure. Honest dialogue requires mutual respect. What you are doing is not dialogue. It is ambush television designed to humiliate your guests for ratings. Ambush, Jennifer repeated with a laugh. That is dramatic. We are simply asking questions that real people want answered. Real people want to know about my sex life? Helen asked incredulously. Real people want you to tell me I am too old to work? Real people want authenticity, Lorraine said, her voice hardening. They want to see celebrities like you challenged. They are tired of watching softball interviews where everyone just promotes their latest project and leaves. We give our audience something real. You give your audience cruelty disguised as honesty, Helen countered. There is a difference. Marcus leaned forward, his expression smug. So what are you going to do, Helen? Storm off? Walk out? That would be quite the tantrum. Helen met his gaze steadily. It would not be a tantrum. It would be self-respect. Oh, come off it, Lorraine said, waving her hand dismissively. You are not going anywhere. You have a film to promote. You need this publicity. So why do not you just relax? Stop being so uptight and let us have a proper conversation. A proper conversation, Helen repeated slowly. You genuinely believe this is proper? I believe this is real, Lorraine shot back. Unlike the fake, sanitized nonsense you probably get everywhere else. We are not here to stroke your ego, Helen. We are here to have an actual discussion. You are here to belittle me, Helen said flatly. Let us call it what it is. Jennifer sighed dramatically. See, this is exactly what we are talking about. You cannot even take a little criticism without falling apart. Criticism implies constructive feedback, Helen said, her voice controlled but fierce. What you have done is mock my age, question my career, invade my privacy, and dismiss my work. That is not criticism. That is bullying. The word landed heavily. Lorraine's smile faltered for just a moment, before returning, tighter than before. Bullying. That is a very serious accusation. It is a very serious behavior, Helen replied. We are journalists, Marcus said defensively. We ask tough questions. If you cannot handle that, maybe you should not do interviews. I have done hundreds of interviews, Helen said. Thousands, probably. I have been asked difficult questions, challenging questions, provocative questions. I have never once walked out of an interview, but I have also never been treated with such blatant disrespect. Lorraine leaned forward, her eyes glittering. You know what I think? I think you came here expecting us to fawn all over you. Dame Helen Mirren, the great actress, the icon. And when we did not play along, when we treated you like everyone else, you got upset. You did not treat me like everyone else, Helen said quietly. You treated me like a target. Oh, please, Jennifer scoffed. You are being ridiculous. Helen looked at each of them in turn. Lorraine with her smug smile, Marcus with his smirk, Jennifer with her cold eyes. She could feel the microphone clipped to her collar, the hot lights beating down, the cameras capturing every moment, and she made a decision. You know what, Helen said, her voice suddenly calm, almost serene. You are absolutely right about one thing, Marcus. I do not have to sit here. She reached up and unclipped the microphone from her collar. The small gesture sent a ripple through the studio. Lorraine's smile froze. Helen, Lorraine said, her voice losing some of its edge, what are you doing? I am leaving, Helen said simply, standing up. I came here in good faith to discuss a project I care deeply about, but you have made it abundantly clear that you have no interest in that. You wanted a spectacle. You wanted to provoke me, to get a reaction. Well, congratulations, you got one. Sit down, Lorraine said, and now there was a note of panic in her voice. We are in the middle of an interview. No, Helen said firmly. We are in the middle of an attack, and I will not participate in it any longer. Marcus stood up quickly. You cannot just leave. This is unprofessional. Helen turned to him, her expression withering. I could say the same about your behavior, but unlike you, I will take the high road. This is unbelievable, Jennifer muttered. Such a diva. Helen placed the microphone carefully on her chair. Call me whatever names you like. I have been called worse by better people. What I will not do is sit here and allow you to disrespect me for your entertainment. Lorraine stood now too, her composure cracking. Helen, please, let us start over. We can talk about your film. You had 30 minutes to talk about my film, Helen said. You chose not to. You chose this instead. Now you live with the consequences. You are overreacting, Lorraine insisted, but her voice wavered. We were just having a bit of fun. Can you not take a joke? Helen's eyes flashed. Funny how when someone pushes back, suddenly it was all just a joke. That is what bullies always say, is it not? It was just a joke. Stop being so sensitive. Well, I am not laughing, Lorraine, and I suspect your viewers are not either. She began walking toward the edge of the set. Marcus moved as if to block her path, but Helen's look stopped him cold. I would not, she said quietly. This will ruin you, Jennifer called out. Walking out on live television, everyone will see this. Your reputation will be destroyed. Helen paused and turned back one last time. My reputation was built on dignity, on professionalism, on treating people with respect. If standing up for myself damages that reputation, then it was not worth protecting in the first place. You are making a huge mistake, Lorraine said, her voice rising. You need us more than we need you. If that were true, Helen said calmly, you would not look so terrified right now. And with that, she walked off set. The cameras followed her for a moment, capturing her straight back, her steady stride, her absolute composure. Behind her, the three panelists stood frozen, their expressions ranging from shock to fury to something approaching fear. Lorraine tried to recover, turning to the camera with a forced smile. Well, that was, certainly unexpected. I suppose some people just cannot handle real conversation. We will take a quick break and be right back. But the damage was done. The look on her face, the tremor in her voice, the way Marcus and Jennifer exchanged panicked glances. Everyone watching knew exactly what had happened. This was not a difficult guest having a meltdown. This was three people who had pushed too far and gotten exactly what they deserved. In the studio, silence fell the moment they cut to commercial. Lorraine sank back into her chair, her face pale. What just happened? She whispered. Marcus ran his hands through his hair. We went too far. We pushed too hard. She walked out, Jennifer said, her voice hollow. She actually walked out. Of course she walked out, a voice said from the control booth over the speaker. It was the producer, and he did not sound happy. What did you think was going to happen? You attacked Helen Mirren on live television. We were just doing our job, Lorraine protested weakly. We were being provocative. You were being cruel, the producer shot back. There is a difference. Backstage, Helen was already gathering her things. A production assistant approached nervously. Miss Mirren, I am so sorry. That should never have happened. Helen smiled at her, a genuine smile this time. Thank you, dear. But it is not your fault. And for what it is worth, I am not sorry. They needed to hear those things. They did. The assistant agreed quietly. We all saw it. Everyone backstage was talking about how awful they were being to you. Then perhaps something good will come of this after all, Helen said, slipping on her coat. Perhaps people will think twice before allowing that kind of behavior to pass as entertainment. As she walked out of the building, her phone was already buzzing with messages. Her publicist, her agent, colleagues, friends. But she ignored them all for now. She had said what needed to be said. She had stood up for herself in the moment when it mattered. Whatever came next, she could handle it. Because that is what dignity looks like. Not sitting quietly while others tear you down. Not smiling through disrespect for the sake of politeness. But knowing your worth, defending it fiercely, and walking away when staying would mean compromising it. Helen Mirren got into her car and drove away from the studio. Behind her, three panelists scrambled to figure out how to fill the rest of their show. Ahead of her, the rest of her day, her career, her life, all of it unmarred by the ugliness she had just left behind. Back in the studio, Lorraine Kelly sat in her chair, staring at the empty seat across from her. The seat where Helen Mirren had sat just minutes ago. The seat she had left because she refused to be treated as anything less than she deserved. We are back in 5, the floor manager called out. Lorraine smoothed her hair, straightened her jacket, prepared her smile. But it was different now. Hollow. She could feel it, and she knew everyone watching would feel it too. The power dynamic had shifted irrevocably. She had thought she was in control, that she could push and prod and provoke without consequence. Helen Mirren had proved her wrong. The cameras came back on. Lorraine looked into the lens, that practiced smile in place. "Welcome back," she said brightly. Well, that was certainly dramatic. Some people just cannot handle a bit of honest conversation, can they? But even as she said it, she knew it sounded weak. Defensive. The viewers had seen everything. They had watched her and her panelists gang up on a guest, mock her age, dismiss her work, invade her privacy. And they had watched that guest refuse to accept it, stand up with grace and dignity, and walk away. Marcus tried to laugh it off. "I suppose we should have expected that. Celebrities and their egos." Jennifer nodded, but her heart was not in it. She certainly showed her true colors. But the words rang false. Everyone knew it. The producers in the control room, the crew on the floor, the audience members who had watched the whole thing unfold, and most importantly, the millions of viewers at home. They had all seen exactly who had shown their true colors, and it was not Helen Mirren. "Let us move on to our next segment," Lorraine said quickly. "We have a wonderful cooking demonstration coming up." And they did move on. The show continued. Recipes were shared. Products were promoted. Cheerful banter resumed. But it all felt forced now, strained, like trying to pretend a vase had not just shattered on the floor, because something had broken that morning. The illusion that cruelty could be disguised as honesty, that disrespect could be packaged as provocative journalism, that hosts could tear down their guests without consequence. Helen Mirren had shattered that illusion simply by refusing to play along, by standing up, removing her microphone, and walking away, by choosing her dignity over their ratings, by showing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remove yourself from a situation that does not serve you. 36 seconds. That is all it took. 36 seconds from the moment she stood up to the moment she disappeared from view. 36 seconds that changed everything. Lorraine Kelly finished her show that day. She smiled, she laughed, she chatted with her remaining guests, but everyone could see it. The crack in the facade. The knowledge that she had crossed a line and been called out for it in front of the entire country. And somewhere in London, Helen Mirren was already moving forward, already focused on the next thing, already free of the ugliness she had walked away from. Because that is what happens when you stand up for yourself, when you refuse to accept treatment that diminishes you, when you walk away with your head held high. You do not just escape the situation, you transform it. You show everyone watching that they have a choice, that they do not have to smile through disrespect, that dignity matters more than approval. Helen Mirren had walked onto that set as a guest. She walked off it as a hero, not because she made a scene, but because she refused to be part of one.